and then share. All right, let's go. So first thing first, let's go check the demo of this. What are we gonna build today? So basically today we're gonna build a book tracking app, or you can call it a bookkeeping app. Whatever the name is, it can be inventory tracking application, anything. Basically, we will practice on the group operations here, right? On the collection called author, on the collection called genres, on the collection called books, right? So we have three collections. So basically, each books will belongs to an author, right? Each book will belong to an author, just one author. Right? Just make it simple, one author. And then each books will have a couple of genres, maybe, or at least you must have one genre in that. Basically, that genres you will have an array of genres, right? Inside the book document. So inside the book document, you will have a field called genres, and that fields will be an array. Inside the array, we will have a couple of genres, and user cannot create a book without providing the author and genres. Basically, you cannot create a new book without an author, right? Without providing an author information or a genres. At least you need at least one genre in order to create any books. And we're gonna have any interface at all. We are gonna build this week. We are gonna build this week, and 1 or 2 days next week. We're gonna build a API server, which means we're not building a website. So we're gonna test it on browser or on browser at all. That's why Nguyen said earlier, he said that my demo doesn't work because he cannot test it on browser, right? That's one reason. And in this step, so we're gonna use embedding approach. We will talk about this embedding and referencing approach more. We'll talk about it more on Thursday. Basically, it's like how we define the relationship between the data inside our database. But for now, we will keep it simple. We will practice on the group operation here instead of worrying too much about additional stuff. Okay, so we use embedding approach, which means basically we will put every object inside an array. We will put a document inside an array, the whole document or a whole object. But referencing means we only put the ID. Embedding here, we put everything, basically kind of like everything inside an object, and then that object will be inside an array. For example, the genre here, right? You will have an array, and then inside the array you have multiple objects. Each object is a genre. So that's what we call embedding approach. And we will learn more about these approaches, embedding and referencing in on Thursday. So tomorrow is about authentications. And in the couple of steps below, when I return, when you see I return the JSON file or results in every route, you see the status code, for example, 200 or 201 or 204 or 400 or 404. They all mean different things, right? So basically, I will go over all of them. 200 means okay, everything is okay, like it's a successful response. 201 means like we successfully create a new content, a new data. For example, when you create a new user, register a new user, or create a new books, or create a new author, we usually return standard code 201, which means we successfully create one entity, the new entity. 404 is usually used for deleting. For example, if you delete some content, you after successful query, you will return 204, means we are not generating any new content at all. Just telling the client that, okay, the operation was successful and there's no new data. 400, it could mean a lot of things, but mostly it's about when the request doesn't have all the necessary informations. But this kind of error is like it happen a lot. Yeah, 201 new data. So basically we would say, okay, I successfully create some data for you. 204, we deleting some data, and 400 is an error. But this kind of error is very like there's a lot of reason for this. The most common thing here is that the user doesn't send, or the user or the client or the browser doesn't send enough information or correct information so that we can use it in our backend side. That's basically it. And 404 means route not found, or document not found, or collection not found, something that's not found, right? And back to Jerry's questions, 201 and 204 is kind of the same. Yeah, 200. If you see the 200 here, 2 here, and it's starting, it means everything is okay. 200 means okay. For GET request, for example, for GET request, we will use 200. For POST request, 204, 201. I mean, POST request usually use 204, or put request or pass request will use 204, 201. I mean, 201. And 204 is like when we try to delete something, which means and after you delete something, right, front end say, okay, delete this one for me, and the back end will delete the piece of data that you want to delete, and then the back end will respond with a 204 status, means I successfully satisfy your request, and I don't return anything for you because you're not expecting any results, any data back, right? So delete it. Yeah, kind of 400 is like, if you see 400, it means bad things. 400 means bad thing, and 500 is an internal server error, means something wrong in your server that you haven't specified the error. And 400 means 400, only 400, right? 400. 300 means redirecting or cached. It's not error. 300 doesn't mean error, but it says something like the data is recast in the browser, or there's a redirecting or something. 400 straight. This one is a error, and we will have to handle this kind of error a lot. And 404, it can means the route, the endpoint is not found, or the document is not found, or the data you want to look at, you're trying to look up is not found. So you can read more on those on here. And here's the demo. If you can, this is the Postman. I'm gonna open Postman. And here's a link. It doesn't work on browser actually. Author. Right, actually it works on browser, but only for GET request. So here we have two authors, right? Here's the response to authors. The first one is me. Second one is Charles. Don't worry, I just made it up. All right, we have two authors. We also have let's not do this on browser. Let's do this on Postman. Right. So here we have a books API, which is what we are building. Inside here this is how I structure my collections on Postman. So basically, it's kind of like a bookmark. So in here we have 17 requests for this app, for this API. If you open them on them, okay, this one only work on my computer. Don't worry, you will have a different kind of format. I'm gonna move. Do you see the chat here, guys? Do you see the chat here? The chat window on the screen? No, you only see the facing here, right? No, all right. So then I'm gonna move it to another screen. All right. So go back. So this is the API that we are gonna build today, right? This is a book API. In here, I have a couple of groups for route. For example, I have author, I have genres, I have books, I have user here. But don't worry about user here. We will do it tomorrow. Today we're gonna focus on author, genres, and books. Okay, so for author, we have the method pause to create new author, get to get a list of authors, current authors. Patch means like we trying to update the author informations, and delete means we want to delete one of them. Okay, same thing for genres, right? And also same thing for books. Books, for books we actually have two get requests. The first one to get all the books, and the second one to get just single books, as you can see here. Get request, get all the books for me. Let's go. Okay, get request, get all the books for me, and here's all the books. Right now we have one books. It's an array, right? One books. Second books. So we have a introduction to JavaScript, right? Which is created by me, the author. I'm the author. Another one is a full stack developer from zero to hero, and Charles was the author. And you can become the hero in just 10 years. Right? Also, here's how you read a single book. You to pass the ID into the URL here. This one is the ID. This is the ID for MongoDB. It looks so long. Actually, yesterday we should have mentioned about the object ID, but I think it was so confused. It's confusing enough for you yesterday. So today let's explain this one. The object ID here actually contains three parts. The first one is kind of like the time that this. Can you make the phone bigger? It does. Okay. I may not highlight correctly, but it's basically divided into three different parts. The first part is going to be the data object, the datetime, the time it was created. The second one is going to be the name of the collection and the name of the servers, the ID of the server and the ID of the collections. And the third one, the last part of it, is going to be the incrementing number, the order number, for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But they are not human readable, so you have no idea what they are, right? But MongoDB understand it, so it will understand in three different parts, so you don't have to worry about it too much, but get an idea of what how the object ID is and how that works. All right, let's say I'm gonna see all the author here, send it, and you see the list of author. Right now we have two authors. We will have a list of genre as well. Let's check it. We have a list of genres here. Okay. Each genre should have a unique ID. Cool. Each genre should have unique ID, and these ID are totally different. As you can see here, the number here is incrementing, right? 0 to 1, 3, and 4, something. But this part, there's a lot of difference between this part. So this part is the time. This one is time, and this one is the server, the collections, and the name. Yeah, the server and the collection. So you will see this part is very similar. You can see here. So basically, that's how you understand the object ID. You can update it by using the patch request method here, and you pass in the ID. And of course, in the body, you need to provide the new body, like the new content that you want to update your data, right? And we will send it. The client will send this information inside the body, and that body is going to be a JSON. As you can see here, it's a JSON. Look, it's very like you have to pay attention to this step, right? It's inside the body. Inside the body, you choose raw using JSON. So what if it's text? It doesn't like our server will not understand it. Even there's a, as you can see, there's a little warning here. Okay, so you have to choose JSON and then choose raw. Cool. In order to test it. All right. You can see on the books. You can also read just a single book. For example, I want to see all the information of this book. So I'm going to copy the ID of that book, right? The ID here. and then I'm gonna paste it here. Send it. So here's the full information of the specific book, the name, the description, the author, and the genre's honor as well. It's me who created it. You will not have this part yet. We will do it tomorrow. Don't worry. We can update and delete a book as well. And
Can you
actually,
make font bigger?
use my API on your Postman. I heard someone say something.
Me. Can
Right.
you make the font bigger? Your screen bigger?
Sorry, it's too low. What? Sorry.
Can you make the screen bigger? The font size? Is that possible? Impossible.
What? I thought it's so big already. It's still small for you. All right. And you may say, what the hell is this URL, curly braces URL? Basically, it's a variable so that I can switch between the environment here, right? So you can either, I'm gonna go back to my learning portal. Where the hell is it? Go back. Right, go back here. I'm gonna copy the link here, copy link address, and I'm gonna put it here, right? So basically the URL means this string. This part is the URL. This part is the URL, right? But I use a variable here because I want to switch between the local URL and the hierarchical URL on my own server URL, for example. So I use a variable. It's kind of like your env file, right? It looks like your env file, and this is how you create a new environment here. Click on the configuration icon here. You will see a list of environments, and let's say I want to add a new environment, and you can name it whatever you want. But let's go back and see what I did here. Here is I use URL. The variable URL is going to be my HighSierra, as you can see here, right? This is exactly what I copy and paste just now. And I also have the authentication token, which we talk about tomorrow. Don't worry. Right, and that's it. And you update it, and then you can use the. You have to choose the environment here. So I can either choose the port number 5001, or I can choose HTTPS. Right now we are working on HTTP, but in the future you may have to work with HTTPS. And this is another environment for my other application. So this one another application, and this one is the current working application. So I choose my Heroku and put URL here. So right now, in the next couple of minutes, we are not working on Heroku. We will work on the local environment. So I'm going to create a new environment here. Let's say add, and I'm going to say local host 5,000, right? You can follow me right away here. It's okay. And I'm going to call the URL like this. The variable name is URL, and the initial value is going to be HTTP localhost 5,000, and yeah, that should be it. And then you add. Cool. Now we should have a variable environment called localhost 5,000, which we will use now. All right. Can you do it again? You click add, right? You click add, and then you choose a name here. You put in a name, define a name here, and then wrong one. This one, right? And then you put in the variable name. The name here can be anything. It doesn't matter. It's your choice. Choose a name and use give it a value, just like your env file. Same thing. There's nothing different, right? So I'm gonna use localhost 5,000, and yeah, save it here. This URL is gonna be our Node.js application, right? We already use it, for example, in the couple of other projects in Node.js, for example, the weather app, the meme maker. We use localhost 5000, remember? So the same URL. This one, I just don't. I'm using the variable environment, the environment variable here because I don't want to type HTTP localhost 5000 every time I create a new route. Just that, right? And every time I change the address, I don't want to go over every single one of them to change it. So that's why I use variable. It makes your life easier. Like if you decide to change midway. All right. So I'm gonna create a new collection here, and I'm gonna say book demo. Uh, yep, I'm gonna create, and you should. I'm gonna close this one, and you should see a folder here, right? And open it. Let's create our first route. First, test it with the first route. It will not work yet, but let's just create a first request. Say get all books or just get books, right? No, author. We will go with author first. Get author, and then save it. And so here we have the first request, but there's nothing inside. It's just in yours, right? I don't have it. Which one? Which one is in your collection? So the layout depends on, you can choose a layout here. You can toggle to panel, to pane view. So create demo collection. Yeah, just create any collection name you want. You can choose any name. But this these step you can follow me right now. Just yeah, okay. So you can choose the view option here. So you can have the left panel here. Right. Click this one, and let's say I'm gonna, instead of doing HTTP localhost 5000 and then author here, right? I want this to be a variable instead of a string, so that in the future when I change the URL, I don't want to have to go over every single one of them to change it. So I'm gonna use variable. The syntax is very similar to CSS or handlebars, right? Very similar. So we're gonna use called URL and then slash author. Cool. And let's say how do you get author? Just create a new request here. Add a request, and you can give it any name. So right now I'm gonna delete author. Right. Right. Add it, and now it's by default it's gonna be a get request. So you can change the request here. So this one is gonna delete author. I'm gonna change one to delete author. Right. And I'm gonna save it. You have to save. You have to press Command S or Control S in order to save this. As you can see here, it changed right away. The method here changed, right? All right. So this is basically how you use the tool Postman. And right here, we don't have our server running, so we cannot actually send anything. I'm gonna close on all the stuff. Don't save. Don't save. We have too many things here. Don't save. Don't save. Don't save. Don't save as well. So don't save. So we will leave this open, right? Okay, now let's go back to our lab. So I already explained roughly how to use Postman. So let's move on to the real application. First, we need to set up our application. You can either do Express generator. You can use Express generator. It's okay. I don't really like that app though. So I'm gonna do everything step by step manually. And all right. One more thing, you need to run your Mongoose, something like this. It's called Mongoose. You have to start your your database server. I think you already have it open. It's running on the background. You can test it by typing Mongo. On Mac, you can type Mongo everywhere if you follow my instructions. But on Windows, if you want to use Mongo everywhere, you need to set path, global path to something. I don't know. I don't remember. There's instruction in the HMD file I sent yesterday. So you have to move inside your the folder where you create or where you install the MongoDB application. So in order to use Mongo, and then if you can use Mongo, that means your server is running. Set path environment, yeah, set to path environment. There's a instruction on the HMD I sent yesterday. Hopefully you do, yeah. Right. I don't know. So many people got had a problem with that, even though they follow Mongo Uni. Right. So right here, as you can see, I'm gonna show all the database that is running on my server. Show DBs, and here you can see it. It's too small. You can see it. I have a couple of database here, right? We will not use any of them. We will use a totally new one, a brand new database, and we will let Mongoose do it for us. We don't have to create a new database here at all. Mongoose will do it for us. So I'm gonna leave this window open so that I can check my database later on. I'm gonna go back to the lab. Then here's a couple of setup steps, but basically you already know how to do it last week. Yes. So here in the instruction here, I don't repeat those steps, but I will do it in the code right here. So basically, where am I? I'm go outside the demo. I'm going to create a new, totally new project. I'm going to call it book demo. CD inside that. Okay. Now I'm going to do npm init. This is just how I do it. I don't want to use express generator at all. And then by default, I'm going to init my all server, and I'm going to say code, open the editor. All right, is this too small? I'm going to zoom in. And here I'm going to create the first file, which is app.js, very important, app.js. And of course, I'm going to install a couple of things. First thing first, I'm going to install npm install express, as you remember. And I will need to use Mongoose, so I'm going to install Mongoose as well. And I'm going to use body parser. If you use Express generator, it will like already include the body parser. But right now I'm doing manually, so I need to install this one as well. I'm going to npm.js.com, shut it. So we keep Mongo running in the background now when creating. You don't have to, but we will use it to check our database later in just a demo purpose. You can use Compass later. I will show you how. So this body parser, basically it will parse the URL to object, JavaScript object, or it will pass a JSON file to JavaScript object for us. So we will not have to worry about those things. Okay. And just like that, we can use it. All right, nothing new. I'm gonna copy this and I'm gonna install it in my application. Here, no, sorry, here. So npm install, what was it? Body parser. Oops. npm body parser. And one more thing, we need to install Mongoose. npm install Mongoose, right? So these are the three main things. Can you show terminal commands again? What? Oh, the service that's running on the background is called Mongo. It's not Mongo. MongoD. It's MongoD. And basically it starts a server for us. the server for us. For some people, the server is not automatically running. Some people need to restart it, or some people need to like run it at the first time they reset the computers. So for me, I don't know how it's just there by by default. When I restart my computer, it's there. So thank God. It's called a proper setup. So everything is there. To rate the files, I mean, Mongoose not to rate the file. Mongoose is like to start the database server. And on that server, we will have a couple of different databases, and let's go into that later. McDear bookmark demo. Can you explain what body parser is? All right. First thing first. If you use Express generator, you already have body parser for you. It already have body parser. If you do everything manually like me from scratch, you need to install body parser. And what does it do? Basically, it will look at the URL here, for example. It will look at the URL here and it will find something like name equal qua, right? You will have something like this, name equal qua and some other stuff. They are all queries. It will look at the queries and will pass it into objects, right? JavaScript object for us. Also, you can you can send a JSON body. For example, here I chose what the hell, raw, and then I chose JSON. So body parser, it will look at the body and it will JSON.parse or the JSON.parse for us to convert the string, the JSON string into JavaScript object. So we don't have to do those kind of stuff every time we create a new route. Right. Let's go back. None. We don't need to send anybody for get request. Right. Let's go back to the code. So enough of that. Right now my app.js has nothing. So I need to create the Express app. On Express equal to require, and I cannot type Express. Right. What's next? We need to initialize our app. Cause app equal Express. Right. And then we start our app. Listen, and then in listen, I'm gonna use global environment. I don't want to use 5,000 right here because I want to be able to change it using the global environment, right? So I'm gonna install. In order to use it, global environment, you have to install .env, I think. Install .env. So we installed 4 things already. And how do we check it? We can go to package.json. We can see the list of dependency that we already installed. So we have 4 dependencies here. Cool. So I'm going to create a file called .env. And in here, we will have port equal to 5,000. For example, right now I'm going to use 5,000. It's my habit. It's also a hierarchical habit. Right. I'm going to close this one. All right. So we are called, before we do that, we need to import the .env require .env, and then we .config. Okay, by default, when we call config here, it will look at the .env file for us. And if you change it to a different name, you have to say path and the name of the file. If it's just .env, that means default, so you don't have to put anything in here, set like that. And then I'm gonna put the process .env.port, right? And this is a callback function. If everything is fine, if the app is running, we will do console. I'm gonna say app is running on port something process, right? And yeah, right now nothing new. We already did it a lot of times. Is it still good? What is it? Yeah, but that's a later. It's not this step. I will do it later. but right now we just want to run our Express app. So this step you're gonna do it yourself. So I didn't write it in the lab. You should already know how to do this. So I'm gonna say, oh shit, I forgot to install Nodemon. npm install Nodemon. So basically, it's a development mod. I want to use Nodemon instead of Node because I want it to recompile every time I change my code. So let's install Nodemon, and we should have a strip here. Let's say it's a comma, and a strip here is going to be def. So we can use npm run def later. And this script is gonna execute this command nodemon, and then we want to run app.js, right? Uh, where is my short dot? Oh, doesn't matter. So I'm gonna execute app.js here, nodemon app.js. Okay, let's see. npm run dev. All right, our app is running on port 5000. Works. Everything works fine, right? If you don't believe it, you can open the browser to check, but I don't want to do it. So, right, next step, we want to connect Mongoose, connect MongoDB to our app using Mongoose. First step, we need to install Mongoose. I'm gonna install Mongoose here. Const Mongoose equal to require Mongoose, right? Syntax here, you can copy from the documentations. And now you need to do something called mongoose.connect. So this part is what Khan asked me, what Joris asked me before. So basically in here we need 2 or 3 elements, maybe 2, maybe 3. The last element is optional. So basically the first argument is the URL, it's a string, and this is a URL to the database server. So we can have MongoDB here and then colon, and we can have localhost 27017. So basically, this is the server for our database. And the name of the database will be created by Mongoose. So I'm going to choose the name. So the new name is going to be, for example, book demo, right? Cool. And then the second argument is an option, and that option has a lot of things in there. I don't remember exactly what they are, but basically I will spend a little bit about them. So first thing first, you need this string, the local, it's not the URL to your database. It could be local, it could be from the cloud, for example. It could be something like this: MongoDB clone / some user, right? And then some password at wherever it is. It was MongoDB Atlas, I don't know, .com, and then the name of the database, new database, right? It was like this. It was like this for your yesterday MongoDB University. So you can copy and paste that URL here as well. It still work. But I advise you to create a new database on your local machine to run faster. It runs faster. Actually, it runs faster. The query runs faster because there's no delay. Okay, so right now I'm hardcoding the string here, but what if I deploy my application and I want to change the URL? I cannot do that if I put it hardcode a string here. So I'm going to use a variable, global variable. Go to your env file. You can do db local and equal that string. Oops. No, I'm going to copy this string, copy it. You can either paste here, right? Paste here, and then here you're going to call process .env.db local, right? So this is what you see in the lab. there's a lot of things going behind the scene, but we actually know how to do it. So I didn't mention it in the lab. I purposely didn't mention it in the lab. So that I want you to read the code and understand where the information come from. Just don't blindly copy and paste, even though it's very like something very new to you, but you need to understand what you're copying and what you're pasting and why you're using it. Right. And because I changed something in my environment here, I had to stop my server and run again. All right, I'm gonna stop it and then I'll run again. But before I run it, there actually is some warning here. The current URL string parser is deprecated and will be removed in the future version. So use a new one. So you can like copy and paste it here. So this is our option. We have a couple of options here. So it can be like this, and you can have more options. There are so many. There's use new URL parser. There's use unified topology. Something I don't know. These things you have to go to a documentation and look at it. So here I already spent a couple of times to take a look at them. So I'm going to copy all of these stuff right here. Right. I'm going to pass all of them here. Cool. Can I see there's actually nothing. So 2 seconds. It's typing. It's okay. Go. All right. So here we have all the options like to turn off the warning, just like to turn off these annoying warnings. I don't want to see all of them whenever I change something. So we have the options. So basically, Mongoose will create index for us, and right now don't worry about index. So index is something that make the database run faster sometimes, right? Use new URL parser. I don't know what the old parser is, but they advise us to use the new parser, so I use it. And find modify something belong to Mongoose as well. So it's kind of like the new method. There are a couple of deprecated method, means old method that is not used anymore. So we need to use toggle this one to false. And these kind of stuff are mentioned in the docs, so you don't have to worry about it. After all, you do then. So if we successfully connect to our database, we will do something. I will say console log, say like successfully connected to database, right? To let it know that we successfully connected to the database. Else, there's something we can catch, and then catch error. We console log the error. Console.log error dot message or just error. It's okay. Right. So if we successfully connect to the database, we will see this logs here. If we don't, we should see the error. Right. I'm gonna enter down so it's make it clear for you. Right. And how do we know that we successfully connect to the database? Let's try it. Let's run our application. All right. Successfully connected to the database. Right, as you can see here. Now, if you open your item, no, not this terminal here. I'm gonna run again. I'm gonna show all new database again. You will not see the database yet. The new database is we should see something called I forgot. Shit, my memory is so bad. We call it book demo, right? We call it book demo. We should see a book demo here, but we don't see it yet because by default, if the database is empty, like it will not show here. There's nothing inside the database at all. It's empty. So Mongoose understand that, and Mongoose haven't tried anything to create a database. So unless we have some condition here in Mongoose, for example, we define a couple of collections, and Mongoose will like automatically create a database for us. So let's say I'm gonna create a model. Right, I'm gonna create the model. Oh, first we need to use Mongoose app.use. I forgot this step. App.use and use Mongoose. I think I forgot the syntax. Let's go back and see. Oh, really? Oh, you should use a middleware. So Mongo is not a middleware, so you don't have to use Mongo. So I'm gonna put not using it. So sorry. So by default, Mongoose will appear everywhere when we import it. It will appear everywhere and it will connect to the database anytime it's called. So we have to use it. But there's one more thing we want to do is like we want to use the parser here, right? So I'm gonna use use. And what do I want to use? I'm gonna use a, let me see, this one. There's a couple of setup steps, so that's why a spread generator used for us. So we want to use forgot the yeah, we install body parser, something that we installed earlier. What was it called? The body parser. Let me copy this, and then I'm gonna to body parser equal to require body parser, and we should not name it like this. Uh, JavaScript we complain. So let's say body parser, right? Cool. And then we're going to use what's wrong with it? After you require a middleware function, yes, of course. And we will pass in the body parser, and inside it we will have a couple of methods. The first one is going to be URL encoder. We need this, and extension equal true or false, I don't remember, but it will throw a command. It will use a true. It will show a warning, so we can change later. Then we can also use another thing is called JSON. So basically, we want to pass the URL like I did it here, right? And we also want to pass JSON, which we will send here. Okay, we want to pass it the URL encoded and the JSON. Right, that's it. And then we can do get. This is the default route, and say respond.send JSON. Let's go with JSON. And in this JSON file, JSON is an object, right? And here, let's say we have a status is okay, and then the body data is just say empty array. All right. Now I open my Postman. I send a GET request to this route. I should expect to see a body like this, a response like this. So give me status. Usually when you return a JSON, it's your by default it's going to be a status cost 200. So if you don't use 200 here, it will say if you use 200 status code. If you want it to be 201, you need to change this one to 201, right? So let's see what happened here. Postman, let's change this one to root route. See what happened here. Cannot get what? Control C and oh, what did it do? npm run there. Ooh. We should see the root route here, but I cannot see anything here. Cannot run get. That's weird. Oh shit! 404 not found. Do I miss anything here? I don't think I do. But it doesn't understand the route here for some reasons. Do I miss anything here? Let's go back and I'm gonna check my can I see the env one more time? No, it's okay. That's weird. There's nothing. Right, can anyone help me out this? Can anyone spot the error? Why is app.get doesn't work? So small keys, why it does app.get doesn't work? Let's say I'm gonna use router. Let's see what happens if I use router. Cons router equal to reply router, right? No, con router equal to cons router equal to app expect router. All right, and then let's say router.get. What happened? You need to use app.use router as well. Right. Error. What error? Cons here. Save everything. Okay. Test again. This. Send it. Oh, holy shit. I actually used the wrong environment here. You look at this. Look at the environment here. Ah, that's why. That's the error. Why I didn't see anything here. I used wrong environment, so I need to go back and change this one to localhost 5000. Right? Okay, localhost 5000, and then send again. All right. So we actually see the response. Can you try to All right. All of those steps is unnecessary because we use the wrong environment here. All right. Now I see the response. So our app works fine. All right. Now the next step, I'm gonna create. Let's go. Let's go back and follow exactly what the milestone asked us to do. Next step, we want to set up the models, right? The models. This is the most important part for today. For model, I would create a new folder called shop, and then inside shop, I'm going to create a folder called models. So basically, we want all the models to be inside this folder. Right? Cool. In here, I'm going to create the first model. Is going to be author.js. Okay. So author is inside model inside short, and here I'm gonna call mongoose equal to require mongoose. Why is it single quote? I hate single quote. Right. Now first we need to create the schema. Create step by step. Create schema, and then we will create model. All right, and then we export that model. Okay, 3 step. Create schema. Cons. This one is going to be author schema, right? Equal mongoose dot create schema. Right, I think the syntax is correct, hopefully. And this one we will have an object in there, create schema, and this schema will be an object. In here we will have a couple of things. We can define the structure for our collections on document. We can have data validations. We can also have what was it? I forgot. The data type for each, default value for each of them, or the data type for each field inside here. So first thing first, let's go with something so simple, and it's going to be let's the author. What's the most important thing for author, guys? Name. Yes, name. Right, name. And what type data is it? What type data is for the name field? Yeah, string. So the string here is very special. String for Mongoose is gonna be string. It's very weird, but you have to use this way. Capital S and then string. Damn, so hard to remember, right? And then we successfully create a schema. And in this document, there's only one field, and that field is going to be name, and name has to be a string. We will worry about the validation later. So let's now we start with something simple. Then we need to create the model const author equal to mongoose dot model like this. And then we have the author is a name of the model. So this name will be used everywhere. And this name is only when we define it. This variable is only when we define it. So the next argument is, as you can see here, there's a suggestion here. The name is a string and the schema. So I'm going to pass this schema here. And then, right? And then now we can export it. Cool. Just like how you, how do I say, just like how we, I already showed you in the lecture, right? And let's say now we need to this one, let's call this one yes, and then we need to module export oh, there's a suggestion here. So we define the model, and now we need to export the models to make it public so that other files can import and use. That's simply it, right? And so basically if we create a schema, I'm not sure if it's works, but let's do it. So I'm gonna call this one to, if we don't call this, I'm not sure if we create any data for us, but let's close this and start again. Right, successfully connect to database, and here I'm gonna check the database again. Show these, right, there's nothing because even though we haven't called, we successfully create the model, but we actually haven't called anything from that model at all. There's something wrong with the syntax here. And I think create schema looks so different. Why is it mongoose model here, but here mongoose create schema looks so weird. Let me fix this. Oh shit, there's mongo.schema. Sorry guys, mongoose.schema. It's not mongoose.create schema. Sorry, syntax error. That happens. Shit happens. All right. Author schema. Let's see. Save it again. See what happened. I'm gonna run. Still not yet. So next step, I'm gonna create a route to create new author. I'm gonna add new author by, and here's syntax. So right now, I'm going to create another route called router.pause, for example. And what is the syntax? What should be in here? What should be in the route here? REST API, guys. REST API. This route is gonna it's gonna be a pause request, right? And it will create new author. All right. So what is it? Content point authors, and then in here we will have a function. This function is going to request, respond, and then next. But we don't really use next, so I can skip it. And here it has to be async because we are gonna like run some query inside our database, and Mongoose will always return a promise. It will not return a value because it takes time to execute the query, so it will return a promise. And that's the power of JavaScript. All right, next step, I need to read the data from the client, the data that client sends. I'm gonna use const name, the author name, right? From where? From request.body. Okay. So I need to check now. If there is no name, I'm just gonna return respond.status. What was it? What should be the code in here? And then JSON. The JSON gonna be have a status fail. It could be yeah, I refer to your string here, and then next step is gonna be data equal no, because it's an error response. So I'm gonna respond an error with 400, right? Because the client doesn't provide the correct name. If name or type of, you can also check here, type of name is not string. You can do one more step to more restrict, be more strict. You can do, if name is not a string, then we return it. We say status fail, and then here's an error. Invalid input for name, for example. Let's say something like that. Else, I'm gonna return something else. Return station status. Just this one, just for demo, right? And here I'm gonna have status, okay, and response is gonna be data. It's gonna be the name that we just got from the user, right? So let's test it. Let's test our API here. I'm going to open Postman and change this one to authors and change this one to post. So now I don't send anything. Let's see what happened here. I don't send anything. Okay. So the server return like it's a, look at it. Look at the started code here. It's 400. It means bar request, and the status fail, and there's a message say, okay, invalid input for the name. Cool. So now I'm gonna try and send a proper request with a body. What is data known? Because it execute this line. If execute this line, and the whole function here ended here. It will not return data is no, right? Okay. So I'm gonna test the second case, which I will send some name, but the name is not the string. It could be a number, right? I'm gonna send a number, and name is gonna be a number 1, for example. Oh, go a bit slow. Yeah. All right. So here, why is this body here is a JSON, and we need to use string for the key, right? We have to use string for the key. Remember, we have to use string for the key, and the last key value should not have comma. It will throw error. If you look at it here, it's a bad string. It should not have the comma at the end. Remove the comma, and let's send it. See what happens. We see the same error because in our backend side we have a condition here. If the name is not null, if the name is null, or if the type of name is not a string, we will return this error. Right? Cool. So what if I change the name here to a string called Khóa, and I'm gonna send it. So actually you see a proper response, which is 201 created. Just assume that we actually create some data in there, there's some information in there. So here's how you handle the request with the body, right? And how we respond, handle the error as well. And you're gonna have to do this a lot, so you have to. And it's actually this part is depending on different routes, so you have different logic. But basically, you want to return something like this: return status 400 if there's an error, right? And if you want to tell the user what's wrong with that, you can be more specific like me. Invalid input for name. Name must be a string, or there must be a name, and name must be a string, for example, like something like that. So basically, recap for this, right? Recap, we create a new route, a new endpoint. You can call this a new endpoint. It's a post request, right? Post request. And in here, is the route authors. We are trying to implement the REST API architecture. So we want to use authors pause, and the second element is function, and that function has to be async. We can delete now here. It's also work, but we are gonna use async. So let's just put it there. And you probably use a lot of async in the future, so make a habit to have async here. Right. And in here, we handle the input from the user from the request. If the user doesn't provide a name, or like, I will explain everything first and then go back later. If the user doesn't provide a name inside the body, or it could be inside the query, right? In the query or in the body, doesn't matter. It depends on how you want your app work. Right? So if there's no name in the body, you will throw the error here. If the name is not a string, you also throw the cap error, right? And if there's a name and the name is a string, you will do the do more, do something else, and then you return a proper response, right? So questions on line 31, right here. Would it be the same error for both situations? It depends on how specific you want to be, right? Some If you want your API is so super well documented, you may have to say, all right, if there's no name, please provide the name. If the name is not a string, please name must be a string, something like that. But I want to send some specific errors, so invalid input for the name. Uh, so like any person with a human sense, we understand name must be a string, right? So like if he see this type error, he should understand, okay, name should be a string and name is required, right? So here's how we test with Postman. First thing first, we are not sending anybody. We just send a post request to author to this endpoint, which doesn't make any sense, right? We try to create something without providing any information. It makes no sense to me, right? So you receive an error. Okay, now I actually send something. I use body and I click on raw here. I send a JSON and I say some bullshit name. 32 doesn't make any sense to human. Whose name is 32? Send it. Same error. And here, if you change the name to Khoa, that makes sense. Khoa is a name. Send it. All right. Okay. Khoa is a name. So data is Khoa. Perfect. Right. Clear. So this step, you have to be clear on this step before we move on, because every other step will be based on these steps. Okay. So now do something else is kind of like, okay, create a use an author using that name, right? Instead of doing something else, we will create a an author with the name equal name. This name equal this name, right? So we don't do something like this. Cons. There are two ways to do it. In the lab, I stated two ways to do it, and there are pros and cons actually. Cons new author, right? You can call it new author, but right now just call it author, and then you would use author. This is the name of the database. It's not really a name database, but it's something you import here. So I'm gonna import shit. So I'm gonna import author. We are gonna import the model from source, right? From source, and then from source we go to models, and inside model we have authors, right? Author JS. We don't need the JS there. So we import author from this file, which we already exported here. Okay, and right, go down. We're gonna use author here. Dot create, and we will create a new user with the name of this name. Right. Name here is the field inside our document. Right, this is the name of the field. And name here is the value that we got from the request. So we do that, and I think we have to await. Yeah, await. And then I have author here. I'm going to respond author here. Right. Get the author here. We create a new entity, a new record inside our collections, and I'm going to return that results to the client. Daniel, you look so sleepy. Okay, let's try it. Let's see what happened here. And I'm not sure if it works, but let's try it. I'm going to send, right? So our Mongoose successfully create a new author with the name is Hua, and it also create the ID. It also create the ID here. This is the new ID that Mongoose automatically created for us. Right? Don't worry. We will take a break here, right here. After we successfully create a new user, we will take a break before we move on. Don't worry. So here we successfully create a new user, and I want to make sure that I actually have this user inside my database. I'm gonna open the console, and then I run the same command show db. You should see the new database here, book demo. Earlier we didn't have it. Look, earlier we didn't have the book demo because we had nothing in there. We had no collection, not collection. We had no document actually, and we had no collection because here in the code here we just define the schema, we just define the model. We haven't actually called it. We haven't actually called it. But here I actually call it here. I call it to create a new document for me. So that's why Mongoose create a new database for me, book demo here. And if you go into book demo, I'm gonna use book demo. So you use command in order to switch to the database book demo, and I'm gonna db dot. If you want to show collection, you say show collections. So you see the collection authors here, right? And actually, Mongo is so smart. It will get the name of the author here. It will get the name of the model here, right? It will change everything into lowercase and with plurals because collection is plurals. Like its collection means it had many different documents in there, so it's plurals. So that's why you see authors here. And then if you do db.authors.file, and I want to I want it to be pretty too, right? And you should see one document which we just created, right? Oh, so simple, and not so simple, but the logic is so simple, right? But the code is not that much simple, but you will get used to it, right? Can we see where you create the first document? And this is the route, the request. I don't see you pause it. What? I actually click send. I actually click send here. All right, so I'm gonna create a new user called Hưng Nguyễn. You didn't see I paused it, so I'm gonna name Hưng Nguyễn. I'm gonna create a new author called Hưng Nguyễn, right? And then I'm gonna the V is something special, something very special. Something with the other dash here is means something very special. So we will explain it later. We'll go into it later, not really later. You can actually read on the docs, but I'm gonna click send here. So I create a new user called Hưng Nguyễn, and I'm gonna check it here. Run the same command. I should see two objects, two documents. The first one is Khoa, the second one is Hưng Nguyễn. Yeah, V is it stand for versions. It's kind of something magic. Mongoose create for us. Basically, if you change the data, for example, you change the name to Hưng Tạ, for example, the V here will become one. It will become one. Let's see. Let's open Compass, right? And just forget this one. Great. All right, this is how you use Compass to connect to your local database. I'm going to show you, so pay attention to this part, and then we'll take a break. So I'm going to connect to my own server, Mongo DB, colon, localhost, what's the port? 24.0. Here's a default port for Mongo. And yeah, that's it, I think. Connect. Shit. Is we got right in. Take like half a second, split of second. So in here we have a couple of database. As you can see here, it's too small, right? So we have a couple of database here. So let's go into book demo, which we just created. In here we have a collection called authors. Inside author we have two objects, two documents. Let's say I'm going to change Hưng Nguyễn to Hưng Tạ. Right, I'm going to click edit. I'm going to change the name here, Hưng Tạ, and I update it. Right, I'm going to file again. Shit, this one doesn't update because we didn't use Mongoose to to update it. We updated right away directly on the database, so it doesn't update the version number here. Oh, you actually can change the version number right here as well. So basically, this version number will be like increment every time we change some data in the document here. So it become 1, 2, 3 until like it's getting too big, right? So wrap up. Right, wrap up. We learn how to set up our app from scratch, right? And then we know how to use the body parser. If you don't know to, or if you want to, if you decide to do everything from scratch, you know how to use body parser. And this part is like to eliminate the error, and it's not the error, it's the warnings. Something is delicate, something is too old to use, so they advise us to use different things. So we can use the option to eliminate the warnings. Just you don't have to like to memorize anything. You can have it somewhere and then to copy and paste. It's okay. And then this is how we connect to a database using Mongoose. Use mongoose.connect, and the first one is going to be the URL to your database. Right. I heard 2 or 3 people complain to me, why do you put browser.env.db local and you didn't say anything about it? I did it on purpose actually. I did it on purpose so that you just don't lightly copy and paste. You have to think a little bit. And how do you get this? Oh, we learned it from last week. We learned how to use this global environment, right? And from the name, you can tell like, okay, DB local. Okay, it can be something that connect to your database. So it either can be a string. If you like did yesterday exercise, you know it should be a string, Mongo something. And if you look at the compass here, here is how the string look like. Take too long. Right, and then here's the what we would do after we successfully connect, and what we would do if there's some error in the process. So the string should look like this, as you can see here, right? So this is how the string should look like. If you use it on local, you don't have to use username and password at all. If you decide to use a cloud server, right? For example, Atlas or MLab, you need the username and you need the password, you need the host name here. It will not be localhost 27017. It should be something like this. And admin here is the name of the database. You don't really need the name of the database here at all, right? Right, go back to the code. I expect you guys to notice if you run into error, you can Google or you can open the documentation on Mongoose. The first thing, even inside the lecture, I actually mentioned the first element is going to be a string, right? In the lecture, string in the morning. Okay, next step, oh, this one should be on top. It doesn't matter, but I prefer to be on top. Yeah, right. And next step, I'm going to use router later on in the next part of the walkthrough. I'm going to use router, so I put it there. And we're going to use these middleware polyparser, URL encoding, and polyparser.json. These are middlewares, and router actually are middleware as well. And then this is just for testing. And we don't return a template like we did before. For example, res.return.render. Is it render? I don't remember. Maybe render. And then the name of the template, example index. We don't return something like this. Now we return a JSON with the status code, right? So this is the only thing that's different from what we did earlier last week. And then I create a new endpoint here just to create a new user author, and we will use Mongoose inside this function. That's why we need to use async and await. If you don't use async and await, you have to do something like this: author.create and then something like this, and then you have to change everything. Put and then catch. So if you don't use async and await, don't use .then.cat, you can use async and await. And I forgot one more thing. If you use async and await, you should have a try catch block. You try and catch. So I'm gonna try. Oh shit, sorry. I'm gonna try and put cons author in here, and then I'm gonna return here. All right. But if there's any error, if there's some error, we will return try and then catch an error. If there's error, we will return. I'm gonna copy this line. I'm gonna return a, for example, 500. So this error is gonna be our something wrong with our database, right? So we cannot handle it. We don't know how to handle it right now. We will learn to how to handle it in the future, but not now. So let's say I'm gonna copy this. I'm too lazy to type. Started fail error, something wrong inside our database, or you can do just this error here, error dot message. So this error is an error object, so we can use error dot message. Save it. All right, cool. Yeah, yep. We have to return exact number. 500, we don't know the error number. Oh, 500 mean internal server error, and that's something that related to our server, our backend server. We don't know. It's kind of like logical error. It's not logical error. Something like code error is something called code error that we haven't handled yet. So it's 500 mean code error. The data is the key word when we return the result. I don't know. Some it depends on the person who design the API, actually. But usually, I want to stay consistent, right? If it's some data you can work with, we use data. If it's a error, we use error, right? So basically, this data, it can be an array, it can be an object in here, it can be a string, it can be anything, but we use I personally use data, right? And if the starter is false, it's okay or fail, just you fail or whatever, so you will have the error instead of data, right? And yeah, so that's pretty much it. So this is the perfect code, I would say. Not really perfect, but yeah, this kind of clean and good. Any questions? There's a lot to do inside the model, and we'll get back to it later. But right now, just the first step, right? Cool. Yay! So take a quick break and look at the milestone. If you can do everything in them until milestone 4, I think it's very good. If you cannot do it, just watch my next part of the video, right? So, uh, 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 15 minutes, is that okay? Too long? 10 minutes or 15 minutes? 15 minutes, okay. 15 minutes. Yeah, okay. 10 minutes, actually 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Oh man, you make me confused. 10 minutes. There's nothing here. 10 minutes, okay. We'll get back at 3:10. Come back at 3:10. Right. I'm gonna stop it. Stop sharing.